All right, everybody. What's up? Justin with the Real Alaska Podcast. I'm here with my sidekick,
Billy.
And we are here with
Joshua Shumelda, or Shu. And I'm with Zen Remedy, Alaska's premier at-home healthcare services.
Love it, man. Welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking time out of your day to get here. So we really start with kind of like where you're from, how you got to Alaska. Are you born and raised?
Okay, so I consider myself a full Alaskan because I got here when I was in 5th grade.
Yeah.
So all the real important years, I went to
Right.
Central Junior High. I went to Bartlett. I got kicked out of Muldoon Christian School in 9th grade. So, yeah, I'm a straight-up Alaskan.
What's your story there? Oh, man. Kicked out of school?
Well, it was just one of those kind of things, you fall into that Twitter-pated love moment, and it just happened to be that the girl that I liked was one of the teacher's daughters, and it just didn't mix.
I can understand that.
Yeah, that happens.
It does. It happens.
I did not have that, but I totally understand what could have potentially happened there.
So, yeah, I've been in Alaska pretty much my whole life, but I did go and move to West Palm Beach, Florida back in 1999. I called that Purgatory. It was awesome. It was the land
Purgatory,
of debauchery.
that's in Florida, right?
You got it. That's it. You got it. West Palm Beach, Florida, Purgatory. And, there I got to be what I call spa-fisticated. I worked at places like Ritz-Carlton, Mar-a-Lago, Four Seasons.
Okay.
So I really got to see what holistic healthcare was at a high-end luxury level.
Yeah, like high end.
The highest end.
Yeah.
You can't trump it.
No, the Four Seasons are nice,
Zing!
man.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I thought that.
Not getting that. That's punny. So Florida sounds terrible right now.
Oh, it was wild, but
Yeah.
it was what was necessary in order for me to learn what I needed to bring it back home to Alaska. Essentially, the state of mental health here in Alaska is extreme and it's unique and not in a positive direction, unfortunately.
Yeah, you read about that.
Yeah.
So myself, I was a early product of what the CDC calls the ACEs, or Adverse Childhood Experiences. And I got to experience a lot of those at a young age. And then when I met my biological father, he got me plugged in immediately into things like Reiki, chakras, massage therapy. I was even learning about things like, the early neurolinguistics programming. I was learning about psychological disorders, Carl Jung, at the age of 14.
Wow.
And so I was able to bring that into my life, and I have, from that point, been helping people with the issues and the tissues, the pain in the brain, and the hurt in the heart.
Dude, you have practiced that.
Mind, body, and spirit, man.
Love it, man. I think, I think overall, whole health is not looked at like that.
Right.
Well, and it's too, a lot of the stuff that we see is reactive, right? Rather than preventative.
Right.
Or not even, but yes, 100% agree with that. But I also think it's symptom treatment, not
Exactly.
Love it.
not
You're so right.
actual treating the actual cause, root of the issue. And then, of course,
here I'll take you one even further. The root of that
I feel like
issue.
we're going down a rabbit hole here.
This is a good one.
There's going to be a
Because,
lot of comments on this one.
Our whole lives, we have been conditioned to separate and to live in an or world. Red or blue pill. Should it be things we do outside of ourselves or inside of ourselves? And so we have been in this very reductive state, one that separates everything. I mean, we have started this conditioning when we were in early school with yo mama jokes.
I do like a good yo mama joke.
Oh, you know it. And that's that kind of first part that I remember because I can remember being at the bus stop and you could take two people. And let's just say that maybe the mom is really skinny, but, you could say that your mom's so fat that she wears the, equator as a belt, and you get two people fighting and defending themselves.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
I used that one before.
Mothers are the contention of actually a lot of arguments, I would I was a soldier for a while, and they did a study on green on blue incidents.
Okay.
So this is like, trainers getting upset or turning on their trainees or vice versa.
Right.
And they found out that it actually stemmed from the word MFer.
Wow. Yeah.
Right? Like all these incidents started with that. And it was a cultural breakdown where it's like they value their mothers a little bit differently. And that was kind of like a bit far.
Right. They didn't start a kindergarten making fun of mamas.
No, it's just not the same culture, right?
Right.
And so for them, it was a big deal. And so arguably...
Well, and it continues because, after we were in the schoolyard, well, then we take it to the field and we're taught to separate ourselves and fight each other over, which team we have allegiance with.
Yes.
And then we move that into politics, which
yes.
politics, if you take that word apart, you got poly, which is a bunch of, and then a tick is a blood-sucking, arachnid. So you have a bunch of blood-sucking arachnids, and that's polyticks.
Right.
And then finally, if you have not been hit with those three, then theology is going to teach you and condition you that your God is better than somebody else's.
Right.
So we've been trained from a very young age to live in an or world. Mm-hmm. And what that does is it can separate and it restricts and it oppresses. Mm-hmm. And when we are locked into one idea of what something should be, we lock everything else out.
Yes.
So a big part of what we work with Zen Remedy is helping show people that there's not only ors, but there's ands too. Mm-hmm. Our mind,
I like that.
Well, it has these particular faculties to it, and they work in unison, but they also work separately. So our subconscious and conscious minds work with each other, and essentially, whatever it is that we have programmed into this little gatekeeper called the reticular alarm system, that's what we look at to our reality as being the most important.
Right.
So they've kind of calculated that we are all experiencing 40 million subconscious bits per second. So all the sounds, all the atmosphere, we are all three experiencing the exact same 40 million bits.
Mm-hmm. Which is like an insane amount of data.
Oh my God.
That is crazy.
And our conscious minds break that down into what's most important to us based upon our conditioning. Mm-hmm. From the 40 million, you want to take a guess as to what a person can be consciously aware of from 40 million?
Because your brain filters it out, right? Oh, so like you establish heuristics based on...
One?
That's much closer. We're going Price is Right with that one, right?
One.
That's right.
$1, Bob.
That's right. Well, you got it, because really it's real close to that. It's 40.
Okay.
So from the 40 million bits that are possible...
We're going down like...
We're aware of 40.
Wow.
Like 5% of what's really available to us, we're aware of. And so what my gig is helping people, first of all, become aware of their programming. And I've got a really neat platform because it's kind of like a lot of the way we work is like computers.
Yeah.
And we could find out where a virus is or where, the spyware or the adware is in a computer. Well, that's what people come to see me for, is we go into their programs and we say, okay, this is adware, and we do this with neurolinguistics programming. And then we put in a new program of conditioning. Right. And they see the world completely differently.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. We obviously see the counter of that, the negative part of that all the time, and the news and, all that conditioning, right? People are very much divided right now. People are very extreme ors.
Right. And I think that that outlook on things is important.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the last class I did was all on language, because when you think about it, that gateway between our conscious and subconscious mind, one of the keys to it is that we program that. Not when we're kids. When we're kids, it gets programmed to us. Then as we become adults, it's whatever we consistently agree to. That becomes our reality.
Interesting.
That's really what it is. It's not what we want. It's not what we think about. It's not our ideals. It's whatever we agree to, the little teeny tiny pieces of information over and over and over
That's
again.
why that self-dialogue is so important.
So important.
Right? Because you can convince yourself all kinds of things. That doesn't make it true necessarily, but that doesn't mean it won't feel true for you.
Right.
And that's the difference between theory and practice.
Right? Like the self-fulfilling prophecy idea. Like, that's why I love visualization and things like that. Because it's like, if you can imagine yourself doing it, then why not? Like, you can.
That's a big part of what we work with. I mean, the body doesn't really recognize on the level of what the brain does and the brain waves. Yeah. It doesn't really recognize that much difference between the physical activity and us visualizing it. They've been able to prove this. And so, yeah, we work with the visualization. We really work with the languaging big time, And it's a conscious process that, as we said, it's not just theory. I have, I don't know if you're familiar with the book, The Four Agreements. It was huge back in 1997.
I've seen that.
Yep. I have not read that one.
The Four Agreements, real quickly, it's be impeccable with your word, which means don't say nasty things about each other, and don't write a check that you can't cash, okay? It's don't take things personal. Whatever somebody has going against you is probably more what's going on with them, if they're upset or something.
Correct, 100%.
Always do your best. Which, in America, we have this situation to where we're so independent that we have a high level of mental health because we're too independent and not interdependent enough.
Yes.
And so a lot of times people will psychologically harm themselves when they're having the worst, like it could be a country western album, their wife left them,
like
their
the
truck breaks
kind
down.
of thing. Like people are the nastiest to themselves.
Oh man, yeah.
They're nastiest to
100%,
themselves,
dude.
Based on really good American conditioning.
Yeah.
So doing your best is really important. And then finally, it's never assume. And to never assume, most of us have broken that word. Assume makes an ass out of you and me.
Right.
And all we need to do is question things. Now, I work with people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and they really like this book in the metaphysics because it's 4 things that we have to program our subconscious to how we deal with life. You could theorize these ideas and agree to them, but if you don't start becoming conscious of every single thought you have and every word you have, they're going to relate to actions and conditioning.
Right.
And so that's why, in the beginning, we work with a lot of education. We were not given the type of self-discovery education we need.
Yeah.
We were told by Shakespeare, this above all else, to be true to thine own self. You might remember that one.
Yep.
But nowhere do we really get solid self-discovery education. How can we be true to ourselves if we don't know who we are?
Yep.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's our education system is obviously challenged, to say the least, right? Like, it's becoming very apparent in the last, decade on how, even though we are one of the most advanced countries in the world, our education is like 50th, and it's because we push the wrong stuff.
You got it.
We don't push trades anymore.
Yeah.
We don't push personal financing. We don't push mental health and self-discovery. Right. I mean, we don't push math and science, STEM
all
stuff.
All these things are taboo, right?
It's we're pushing basket weaving and
don't be weird.
Now all these different things, right?
Well,
exactly.
Our school systems were developed by this guy named Horace Mann, and Horace Mann was actually a really smart guy. But what he was tasked with was really helping with the industrialization. Right. And so, our school systems are designed to see how well someone can sit down and behave and follow orders consistently for a long period of time. That's what they were designed for. They're not designed for exploration of thought.
Right, because it's like Rockefeller, right? It supplied the initial money to launch a public school system, right? And this is an industrialist, right? Like that needs a pool of talented employees or skilled employees
to do what they're told.
To do what they're told.
Yeah.
To be able to be good employees.
When we look at the world in this separation of duality, we can see this idea everywhere. And to be quite honest, it all stems from this unified theory and these things, what they say in Chinese medicine, mutually arise. So what we can look at worldwide is that there is a separation between independence and interdependence, and it is so off base that if we just married the two, I'll give you an example. Here in America, we've talked about how our mental health is. Well, it's been, talked about how the reason is because we're so independent that everybody has to do it on their own. Right. And if they don't, they're failures. Well, over in Africa, I got a brother over there, brother from another mother. We've known each other for about 15 years, and I've supported him through a lot of tough times. And they literally don't have a roof over their head. They don't have schools. They don't have enough money to feed themselves.
Right.
However, they don't have mental health issues like we do.
Right.
They have a level of interdependence that is so connected to each other that they always have things taken care of, even though they can't feed themselves.
Right.
Correct.
So we have this lopsidedness, you know. If the interdependents gain a little more independence, and if the independents gain a little more interdependence, well, that's holistic. But this stuff doesn't happen automatically or organically. This is by design. That this is the way this is right now. That's what we have to wake up to.
Yeah.
There's no out there.
Right.
Everything that is, we're allowing. We're allowing it by not having the conversations like we're having here.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I mean, it's, when they compare happiness and mental health across countries and cultures, right? The United States as a whole sits very low. And it's because of that, right? But you look at a lot of different cultures around the world, and the ones who are the happiest and have the most longevity are the ones who have a good sense of community and embedded in their culture. They are very interdependent upon each other it's not just your immediate family. It's like the community as a whole is your family.
takes a village.
It does take a village, right? And they
So
still...
and we're too far removed from
We are very too far removed from that. So it's cool to see. I've read, research on, like the top 10 living cultures and like just areas in the world. One of them actually is in the United States.
Okay.
But they're very far removed. It's a religious group. I'm trying to think of who they are. Anyways, but they're vegetarian. They're not like a cult, but
Well, and even happiness, we live at a time that the world we live in, now, number one, I'll let you know, my stance is not that we're in a bad time or apocalyptic.
No.
I mean, anybody who says that, I'm going to all right, you get a ticket right back to the bubonic plague, take it right back to the time that there's no toilet paper running toilets. It's like, because I don't want to hear you. You know, this is the best time
we
that
live
humans have
pretty good lives.
experienced.
Yes.
Most of us, even at our poorest times, are living like kings compared to those historically.
Seriously though, you open your fridge and there's like things from all over the place, and like the lights turn on, and like we really have it really good.
you don't have to cook outside every
on
day.
that, we're at a time that this level of discord and this level of separation, it shouldn't be here.
Right.
That itself, to me, is a reflection that there is something going, and I just call it the Sith.
Right.
Because, it's a force.
Part of me wants to ignore
I don't want to label it anything else.
Star Wars of you.
It's like part of me wants to ignore and pretend like that's not the reality of things.
Sure.
But then
It's funny because
But then it is.
it is. Yeah.
it's like
Because, you can live your life different, but the reality is it's still it's still a problem.
Yeah.
it. To me, I keep seeing like I remember the movie Idiocracy.
Oh, my favorite. I love it.
Yeah, I know. I love that movie. It's
I
so
think it was
fun.
the same guy that wrote The Simpsons wrote that.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So, but I'm
Documentary.
starting to see like that world is not far away.
Right.
Like that. I'm like, okay, we're getting close. Like this is
Macho Kumache or whatever it's
yeah,
going to
man.
be.
I'm like we're so like dependent upon things.
The thing is that
And-
we have everything that we need right
100%,
now.
yeah.
We have figured out, now it's not that we're not going to learn new things. We have learned what trauma does, and we've also learned how to rehabilitate that trauma. And it's been consistent. And the neat thing is since my background is in Chinese medicine and Indian Ayurvedic medicine, that's like 7,000 years old.
Yeah.
All of our science right now is confirming everything they've been saying then.
Right.
So that to me is, I become optimistic about that because we're in such a small place that once we recognize that, the 1% is not as powerful as the fun percent, but we got to get there.
Yeah.
We got to make sure everybody knows how to have fun.
Yeah.
And they don't because we've been conditioned to not. We've been conditioned, when I ask people, how much passive downtime should you have while you're awake? And they say, well, wait a minute, I sleep. That's my passive downtime.
Passive downtime. What does that mean?
Right, yeah.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
That's a very common response. I say, well, you mean sleeping? I sleep sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 5 hours sometimes,
Yeah, but our brain operates at a way that when we're sleeping, we have passive and active phases.
Right.
And most other, in Ayurveda, the science of Indian, this is where yoga comes from, and Tantra and all the chakras and everything. And, they look at it that each human being has a finite amount of breaths. So when we're over here huffing and puffing and exhausting ourselves, what we're doing, and so many people, you look at cortisol, we're running ourselves fat. So there's so many things that are not congruent with balance, and that's the whole point of health is homeostasis.
Right.
What's an interesting perception? Because you have a limited number of everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
Some people shouldn't be breathing that fast.
You're right about maybe that could be a thing.
Yeah. Well. I mean, your Ayurveda's cool.
Oh man, it's so cool.
It's so cool. That whole world of
the neatest thing, we talk about things that are conferred from the ancients to now.
Yeah.
So Ayurveda believes that everything that they talk about the elements. So it starts off as ether, which is space, and then that slows down to become air, and that slows down to become fire, then water, then earth. Well, Einstein said, and this is one of his direct quotes, matter, we've all had it wrong. Matter is nothing more than energy that has been slowed down to be perceived with our senses.
Yes.
So he's saying the exact same thing that Ayurveda said. And our world is a series of qualities and quantities. It's the matrix. It's binary. And when you learn Ayurveda and Chinese medicine and you learn, Jungian archetypal psychology, when you learn more about these things, you start to see the world in that sense.
Right.
You see the words behind the words and you read between the lines and it's amazing. And we have access to all of this.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. That whole... my wife is very much into some of that cooking, is taking classes for it, and the all the different natural herbs and medicines and all that's attached to that lifestyle, man. It's different. It's cool. It works.
Well, and it's like one of the things that I lend to people, and this will just kind of cement it, and haven't heard an argument to this. Mother Nature knows exactly what to give us every season to antidote our environment. So when it's cold and bleak and dry, she doesn't make lettuce. She doesn't make melons. She makes root vegetables that are going to warm us and ground us. And she makes nuts. That's when the squirrels harvest the nuts to have the oily factor to combat the winter's dryness. So if we listen to our mother, then we're going to be eating the right thing all the time. People go and have these smoothie shakes when it's really cold and wet outside. Well, now they're going to create an imbalance. They're putting in the same thing that they're taking out when they go outside. So we have to antidote. And that's what the science of Ayurveda teaches us, is that everything is qualities and quantities. And you got to see where you fit in that. It'll help you figure out what your diet is. It'll help you figure out your psychological tendencies. And from there, you can make the right adaptations.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, I know. I'm like...
Yeah.
we need a button for the boom mind blown right now.
I mean, it's only been around for 7,000 years.
Yeah, just
Greek Western medicine, Chinese medicine, all of them stem their roots back to India around 5,000 BC.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
And at least that's what we agree upon. We can get into the ancient aliens. That might be another.
The guys who built the pyramids.
That's right.
There's some interesting facts on the.
Oh boy,
dude, that's a whole.
I love that. That's
I know, and that's.
I watched that. I was like, hey, this guy seems crazy now, but when the aliens invade, he will be the subject matter expert, and we will bow to his knowledge. I mean,
dude. Okay. Conspiracy theorists are right some of the time.
Well, and that's where we
just not yet.
Yeah, look at COVID stuff.
When I was a kid, it was conspiracy theory,
right?
But now it's just conspiracy knowledge.
Yeah, right.
Well, now it's like we know it's true. They just haven't admitted it yet.
Right? Yeah.
Well,
and even that's altering. I mean,
they classified all the. sightings. They were like, oh, here's all the Air Force footage where they've had all these weird interactions over the last
what, 50 years, something like that.
And that's extraterrestrial. But even what we got going on with the Epstein stuff, I mean, it's all being revealed, and that's
slowly.
because this awakening, or whatever, it's happening all the time,
right.
And I'm not a religious person, but there are two Bible passages, and they're both in Luke, and one of them talks about heaven is here on earth. It's not anywhere else. This is heaven. And then another passage talks about how the only way you're going to get into heaven is with the eyes of a child and through that state of wonder. But we are so conditioned to fight and defend that we don't do any of that.
Do you think that they're referring to like a mindset of how you look
Absolutely.
at things?
Absolutely. 100%. That's what I'm going with.
That's what I would take from that as well.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And that's what we get back to is, with everything we do in Zen Remedy and lifestyle architecture, it's all, instead of living a world we've been taught to live outside in, get the car, get the career, get the girl, we need to start living a world inside out, have the peace, have the harmony, have the stability, the foundation, and move from there. And it's available to us. Again, just two factors is that our awareness is altering our choice. And that's really kind of where it is. So we need to become aware of new things.
Yeah, it's so funny because I'm not sure if TikTok knew that you were coming on. Because yesterday I'm like watching, I'm just scrolling through, 'cause it's a deep, dark.
Of course it does. AI
deep, dark
these days.
Rabbit hole.
Yeah, you go way
right.
deep. Yeah.
And then I'm like scrolling through, and then it pops up. I can't remember some person I didn't recognize, and they were like, the biggest flex is not really how much money you have or your house or car. It's living.
Man, life satisfaction.
And I'm like, man,
Like
I need to do
being
better
happy
at that.
and like
100%. Like doing the
stuff
things
and
you
feeling
love.
good about yourself, that's powerful.
Being present in family, being present with your friends, being present in your life, not just working. Which I mean, this is a struggle for me.
Yeah, and as
100%.
professionals, it's hard, right? Because you feel these obligations to perform for your family, but
well trained.
Yeah, and it pulls you away from
It
that.
does.
Well, and again, that's part of that divide. In that energy resource management, we look at that there are only 3 things that you're going to do with your energy with every thought, word, and experience. One of the things you can do is waste it. That's what most people do with most of their energy. Another thing they can do is they can conserve it, not wasting it. And then the third thing they can do is they can increase their capacity for energy. And that could be in way of mental or physical training or rest.
Right.
And of those 3, the wasting part, there are 3 ways that we waste energy. The first way we waste energy is with our negative triggers. So that's any anger, sadness, fear, anxiety.
Like a blowout, right?
Oh my God, a huge waste of energy. And so many of the religions, Buddhist and Taoism, we look to get ourselves, and the Jedi way, is we get ourselves to have control over those emotions so that we're not negatively triggered. Right. And I tell people triggers aren't bad at all. We use triggers all the time.
Yeah.
You just want to make sure you're aware of them and that they're positive.
Yeah, and take the trigger and like push it into different thinking, right? Like so being present in your thinking and understanding where you're at, right? Instead of winding yourself up, wind yourself down and then put yourself back into a positive deal, right?
And you actually just led to the next way, and that's being in the present, right? So triggers are one way that we can get out of that, but let's think about it. Like, let's just say that we were each given 100 energy dollars every morning that we wake up. We could have, 50 going out to that time we were heartbroken, another $10 to when we were fired, whatever going out to the past. And now we have worry and anxiety going out to the future also. You could wake up with all your energy in the past and the future.
Yeah.
And have no energy to start your day. The third
that
way.
happens to people, man.
All the time.
That does, right? They like, it's happened to me. I've been to places where I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing when I'm doing it.
Yeah.
When you wake up, you feel like a deficit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the third way is codependence. When I work with some people, and when they see the things that go on, like, the Epstein and the human trafficking, they have such a sense of sympathy that all their energy goes out to all these other things and they're completely ineffective in their own life.
Right.
So those are the 3 ways that we waste it. And if we can work on pulling all that energy back, we're going to be able to be aware of new things. We won't need the Cialis like we were.
There's a book. It's actually kind of in line with that, and it's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F.
I love it. Yeah.
And that's kind of the deal.
It's a podcast.
Yeah. I mean, I think
We're not on the radio.
It might say fuck on the book, but I'm not trying
Yeah,
to
there
take
you go.
my
It does. I think it does.
Nice.
Yeah.
But yeah. So there's something to be said for that, right?
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like not
Yes.
worrying about things.
Correct.
Well, and also, when you place it appropriately, I asked myself, and one thing my father gave to me was this energy resource management protocol. What is it? What does it do? Does it provide more freedom or does it provide more imprisonment?
Right.
And so I funnel through these things, and it's like what I can do is I can help educate people.
Yeah.
I can help teach people how to think. That's going to be effective with my energy. Worrying about things is only going to be a waste of energy.
Yeah. 100%. Especially worrying about things that are completely outside of your control or what other people are doing.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah, everybody suffers.
Or what people think about you.
yeah. I'm like, whatever. They're going to do what they're going to do, what they
whatever
want to
they're gonna
do.
think, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and it's taken me a long time to like really kind of learn how to just, be like a duck. Just don't even worry about it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're going to think what they think. They're going to do what they do, right?
Yeah.
And it's up to me to control my emotions and see how that impacts me. And then I always believe that no matter what life brings you, there's always a positive educational moment that comes out of it.
Right? Yeah. Well, and I love that you said that, because the idea of adversity and opportunity, that's a conditioning. I truly believe, based on personal experience, I've seen it in other people, just as we can be conditioned to see everything as adversity and everything as a problem.
That's the opportunity.
It's always there.
Yeah.
It's always there on the other side of that
Yeah.
coin,
Mindset.
100% of the time.
More complicated problems, right? And so that adversity, the more adverse, the more it seems worth it to me. And I don't know.
Well, and if you can create a condition that says the instant that adversity comes in, what can I do with this? Well, that is going to create a condition to where you'll move through, and whenever there's something that's traumatic, it does not even become received by the body as a negative thing.
Right.
It just says, hey, what do I do with this? It's all opportunity.
Yeah.
It could be. If you flip up a coin 1,000,000 times, you're never, ever, ever going to know more than 50-50 what it's going to be next.
It's true.
It's always going to be 50-50. The thing you can control is picking up that coin or not.
Yep.
Right.
So if you choose to operate on one side, you can move through life in a much more effortless way, one of total opportunity.
Yeah.
Yep.
From all adversity.
And I think I probably overuse it, but it's like you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. You really do. And like, what's the worst could happen? They're going to say no, right? Or whatever. But at least you asked. And then deep down, you won't wonder.
Yeah.
Right? Or you can face that yourself, but you don't want to have that burning question however long from now and be wasting your energy on things in the past, questioning your decisions.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. That falls into that hole. And the spirals, they go downward. They can go upward too.
Right?
And again, it's all based on that conditioning. That's that unique factor that I'm able to lend to people is, I saw all the really, really nasty stuff that somebody could go through all before I was 8 years old. And then I got a really incredible education. And then I had a lot of personal trauma in 2019 and 2020, relationships that they ended up having to, that's why mental health and illness is so important to me.
Right.
But going through that process as somebody that's, connected or spouse or whatever, I was able to, I call it my authentication period. So going through what I went through in 2019, 2020, when people talk about the coronavirus, I look at the coronavirus like it was a reprieve. For me, it was something that was so much lighter and gentle compared to what I was going through. The end result of it all was I was able to prove that everything that I've been telling people works.
Right.
You don't have to get into such a state of depression that when you get knocked over, you don't need to be knocked out.
Right.
If you have the ability to self-right yourself.
That's important.
Yeah.
I think people get stuck in ruts and just have no or mental clarity or knowledge on how to correct themselves.
Well,
Right. Which is super important.
And that's so frustrating for people to go
Yes.
through an entire lifetime
Yeah.
and being told that there's something wrong with them, that they're not this or not that, when all it is they were not given the opportunity for the proper conditioning that's congruent with health and wellness.
Yeah.
It really is as simple as that. I mean, we've proven that it is nature and nurture.
Well, and it's easy to get caught up in that spiral too, right? Like where you just have like this negative reinforcement. Even if you're doing the right thing and you have this negative reinforcement, maybe it's 2, 3 times, 4 times in a row, and you're like, shit, maybe there's something to this, right? And then you start to believe it yourself.
Yeah.
And go down that slippery slope. Right. And it's like,
And it's a steep slope.
it's a steep slope.
Well, they have a whole name for it. They call it learned helplessness, And
Yeah.
the initiation of what we call positive psychology didn't come out until 1967. And it was by this guy named Martin Seligman. He's kind of the father of positive psychology. Before that, it was all pathological. And then we finally realized it's like, well, hey, psychology should be something for like regular people too. You know,
Right.
what can we get out of life? And we discovered that, happiness is something that is, we could call it learned optimism. And they stumbled across that because learned helplessness was so evident.
Yeah.
They actually took rats and dogs and they did these experiments to where they would have 3 groups of dogs. One group would be the control, the other group would be shocked,
Poor dog.
the third group would be shocked, but the
Yeah.
second group had a little lever that they could turn off the shock. Well, the third group eventually created learned helplessness so that way, when there was a little gate put in front of them, the first 2 groups learned to jump over the gate. The last group did not even try to jump over the gate. They just stayed there and whelped and got shocked. And then we learned that this happens in human beings and rats and all mammals too. So it's a very, very scientifically proven sound thing to say that just like the CDC recognized, and as we all know anecdotally, that if you've had a messed up youth, you're probably going to have a messed up adulthood.
And what's interesting about like a lot of this stuff too is that sometimes when you're in the mix, you don't recognize it in yourself, right? And that goes back to that
true.
interdependent piece where you have that community that's like, hey man, you doing all right?
Yeah.
You need that portion of it too, because when you're in the thick of it, sometimes you don't have that clarity of thought,
Yeah.
right? Even with all the tools and all the training,
You got it.
right?
I mean, I've been brought up in this health, forever, and I rarely ever get sick. And when I do, the first thing I tell somebody when you're sick, well, you got to drink lots of coconut water because it's got all those good things for you. I don't think I've ever remembered to do it myself.
I got coconut water.
There you go.
Just because it looked delicious. That means
More to prove. Oh, it's good stuff. But the thing, we could look at something. I wish I coined it. I didn't. It's called metaformosis.
Metaformosis. Okay.
Yeah, you got metaphor. You got metamorphosis.
Right.
Okay. And so metaformosis is how you change the way that your brain works by becoming aware and focusing on metaphor. Like no man is an island on their own. It takes a village.
Right.
We use this as lip service and it's fun to say, but if
Yeah.
we lived it, again, the difference between the theory and the practice. And that's what I would tell most people. I would say most people know what to do. They need to come see me because they're not practicing it and I can help them get to that place.
Yeah.
And then even people that do practice, under adversity, they
Well, we all need some support, yeah.
it's going to fall off, and it's right
Yeah.
back to the thing. So I'm happy that people can have these conversations. I don't know that it was always culturally acceptable for 3 men to be in the closet and talk about their feelings. So, but now I can appreciate the climate. It's good.
Yeah.
Especially in whole police, first responder, military world.
Yeah, I mean, like both of us, right? We both come from that past.
Awesome,
and
yeah.
it's definitely a crutch, and it's something that I've struggled with.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And I have a passion to help other people too, right?
Yeah.
And so it's awesome to have these kind of conversations
Yeah.
with people like you that have a different perspective, right?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to be in this time too, because it's like I grew up having pedicures and spa days. I never threw the football around with Dad, but again, the time that we're in has kind of afforded that. That's the brilliance. Is that the only excuses that we can give now are just based upon our own lack of doing something.
And I will tell you
Yeah.
right now, I did not have a pedicure until I was older. I was
Yeah.
probably like 30. Man,
Same thing.
would
I
do
love
that.
a pedicure.
I would do it every day. if that was-
For reals,
I
man.
know.
I mean, come on, man. Yeah.
Dude, they're amazing.
Yes.
Your feet feel like $1 million.
If you haven't
yeah.
done that, treat yourself.
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Manicure, different story.
Yeah, I don't even that much, It's like I've done them a few times, and
I
I'm not
know.
it's just, to me, it's like, and I work with my hands.
Yeah,
so,
I never cut the
I
little
know.
cuticle on your hand. That is brutal.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't trust.
I know. I still occasionally chew my fingernails, and so if Yana,
They'd call you out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like, "Da, da, 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 da." I'm like, listen, don't. This is like Planet Fitness over here. This is judgment free, okay?
That's right.
Well,
Don't
Just
become lunking around, right?
yeah. So obviously, whole mindset, your Vita, all that kind of stuff. But I mean, how we met was massage.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
is that still part of your practice and doing all that?
Absolutely, absolutely. I am primarily in at-home health services. So what
Okay.
that means is I can come to your home or to your office, and that works out best for me because my conditioning is that the worst thing you could do to a wonderful massage is go and drive in a car and get into traffic. That's just something that I was
Yeah.
raised. You don't do that.
Yeah.
And that's what most people do. So what people can do with me is, we may have a lifestyle architect session, do some neurolinguistics programming. I have a 5-lesson curriculum. We screen share sometimes. I'll work with the family. I'll work with an individual. And then after we're done with all that cerebral stuff, we'll get on the table and I'll give them an incredible massage. And so there really is no holistic healthcare experience like we have that I know of anywhere,
Right.
Again, as we say, issues, tissues, the pain in the brain and the hurt in the heart, they're all connected. And so, there are certain insights that I have when I'm working on a person that may come up in a session that's just really unique to the work that I do.
Yeah.
And so, we go to someone's home, we set up, I bring all the nice oil, the music, the iPad, whatever is required, and I bliss the person out. My favorite thing to do is work with families. To realize that the biggest problem in most relationships is that we don't speak the same language, even if we were brought up in the same house.
Yep.
So, being able to bring that to people, and in the way of massage, I'm definitely, there's no doubt, after 30 years and 17 years of teaching it, and I stopped counting certifications at 60, and that was like 10 years ago. So, I'm one of the best that there is. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Typically you go to a massage place,
Right.
Get a massage, get in your car, go home, go back to work, whatever. So, I'm sure a lot of people may be questioning once they hear this of like, why do you not want to get in your car, blah, 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 blah. And they tell you to like, hey, make sure to drink a lot of water because you're
Right,
releasing a bunch of
right.
toxins and da, 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 da. So like, what's your take on
Yeah.
why they should prefer to do the at-home thing?
Love that question. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. Part of my teaching of 17 years is all in the anatomy and physiology. So the way that the nervous system works is that we're in one of two modes at any given time, the sympathetic or parasympathetic. We are either in rest and digest or we are in fight or flight. Now, a person could get right off of my table and get completely stressed out by something that they deal with on the road. It doesn't even need to be traffic.
Right.
So the ability to stay home, take a bath, stay in the robe, all of that keeps us in that rest and digest situation, which really allows for the work to set,
Right.
When I bliss somebody out and I get their muscles all loosened up, I don't want all of my wonderful work being, negated by them stressing on the wheel,
soon as they
Like
walk
5
off
o'clock
the
traffic on Tudor.
man.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now my clients are more high end. They're all politicians, CEOs, restaurant owners. I mean, they're running Anchorage,
Right.
and they do not have time, nor do they care to really go and deal with that. I mean, when you think about, now I have no concerns over the coronavirus because I again taught active immunity for years, so I know what's going on. On that account, when I go see somebody, they see me, somebody who's ridiculously healthy, that has like a proven track record of not getting sick at all. I mean, I just rarely ever cancel clients. I got that reputation. So they got one of me to see. And in addition to that, I got the best hand sanitizers. I've got the essential oils that are going to be negating a lot of the virus and bacterias. So they're seeing me. That's it. And then I leave, and I'm like a ninja. I mean, I clean up my, working on Palm Beach where everybody has their own housekeeper, you create a sense of exactly what to do. So they get this blissful experience, and they don't have to deal with any stress afterwards at all. I mean, when you think about the weather and having that snowfall, I've got a nice car that has a snow button on it. It's my job to go drive around, give you this incredible massage while you sit in with the fireplace. I mean, really, the winter time and those snow seasons were like the hallmark for why it is you get a massage at home.
Right. Over here like, man, this sounds really nice right now.
well, yeah,
it's the best.
I go like, once every other week or so. And I go in the middle of the day.
Yeah. No, most of my clients will do it, kind of either on their day off, in the beginning of the day, and I'll come over and again just set up, clean up, and everything. And now they got or they'll do it on their other day off, the one that they're not taking care of domestic stuff.
Right.
But, it's a whole life changer and game changer. And I mean, the science is there that when people say, can you actually get happy by spending money? Absolutely. We do it all the time.
Jet skis.
A new car,
Snickers
retail
bars.
therapy.
There's lots of cool stuff you can
Now,
do.
the key is that what's happening is when we release those oxytocin and dopamine and serotonin, it's very short-lived. And there's no extra health benefits. Massage therapy, especially when you get it at home and you don't have to worry about the stress of cortisol from driving, well, now you're going to have all 4 of the happy chemicals released in your body, and you're going to have all the extra health and energetic benefits that come from that. So, there's no better way to spend your money to get happy than with massage.
Well, self-care.
It's
Big time.
Huge.
Huge.
I'm a big preacher on that. Self-care is a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because like oxygen mask theory, and in, our industry, we're helping other people with their problems. And so if you can't manage your own situation and come up with a good product, then how are you supposed to...
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
You're just adding to that situation, so we got to remove ourselves from that.
Right.
Right? And then how we do that is, reading books like The 4 Agreements and practicing these things that we know, right?
Yeah.
Self-care, whatever that means to you, right, should happen.
Yeah.
And you owe it to yourself to do that.
Oh, man. I mean, all the statistics are out, on how our longevity, these days is not the important factor, because you could live miserably thanks to science for a long time.
Yes.
So life
100%.
satisfaction, they've even found, this Martin Seligman guy, the 3 types of happiness. They call it the pleasant life, the good life, and the meaningful life. Well, what they discovered about the pleasant life, the one that you get by doing stuff outside of you, the party life,
Right.
they found that it's habitual.
Yeah.
Which means that the more you do, the more you have to do. And what they also discovered, really unique to this form of happiness, is that it bears very little to no connection to actual life satisfaction.
Yes.
It's
I
the
can
meaningful
100%
life.
believe that.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you think of all like the people that are big partiers. And then if they're not doing that,
Yeah.
how miserable how they actually are.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's a great quick boost of like short-lived happiness.
Yeah.
But then there's
Then
no
you gotta
real
hold a bigger
but then-
hole.
Yeah, but then there's no real connection established with any of that. There's no meaningful connection with that, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think the meaningful stuff is. I mean, that's obviously where I most likely think you're going.
Oh yeah, oh definitely. I mean, that's what we get people to. You know,
I'm smart, you know.
and you know that's when you look at the words lifestyle architecture. As an architect is going to help design and build a home,
Right.
you know, they do it with a certain level of safety and a certain understanding that this is something that has to be lived in and workable, you know. So that's what we do with lifestyles also, you know. We are looking to create meaning in life. That passion and purpose is going to move you beyond all that trial and
Makes
tribulation.
that life that you don't need a break from, so it keeps you from burning out, you know? It's like...
That's the flex, man.
If you're building it...
See, I don't need a vacation.
Yeah.
You know, I love going on them, but it's like I don't need one.
Right.
I don't have to go away from my life
Yeah.
because I need a break.
Right.
It's like and everybody has
I'll be
opportunity
fair.
for that.
I need a break from the snow sometimes. It's just nice to get a beach and some sunshine.
I'm gonna lie on that.
Set that up there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, so we've discovered past.
Yeah.
You got into this at a really young age,
Yeah.
which is incredible because, I mean, I don't know any kid that I grew up with that have ever really started what they're doing now at
Right.
Like-
yeah.
I had no
8th,
idea what I was
9th
going to do
grade
until
plus.
last year.
Yeah. No, my high school
So-
sweetheart from Bartlett, my senior year was actually
not the one that got you kicked out.
Not that one. No, that was a Muldoon Christian school before I got into Bartlett.
All right.
So this high school sweetheart, she was at my last class, and so she knew me when I was like learning Reiki 1, and
Yeah.
getting into massage, and back in
I'm
high
sure
school.
she appreciated that.
Yeah. So, it's funny. She got her very first massage from me ever just a couple weeks ago.
Really?
So yeah.
Really?
I would have
Yeah,
think you would have been
I
banking
know.
those hours, dude. I would have been thinking as a young man, you're like, hey, I need 6 hours of this. I gotta...
Well, I
He's like, shh.
nothing.
I gotta log them. Can you sign this?
That's right. Many years to spread many opportunities out. So
Comes in spurts.
yeah. Oh, but it's been a while, and that's really, I think one of the biggest differences to what I bring to people is this is not stuff that's been a part of my training or something that I've learned. This is, when other people need to pick up a reconditioning, these concepts have been a part of it's been my conditioning since I
Right.
was about 13, and
Yeah.
those really informative
cool.
years. So yeah, that's the biggest difference is being able to see this both in myself, my students. I've had hundreds of students, well over 1,000 clients. So a lot of experiences there.
Yeah. Well, let's go into, I guess, kind of like a whole picture of all that you do. Because we've talked about a few different things in pretty good detail, but I want everybody to kind of at
The
least...
bullet points.
I mean, yeah. Because I
Yeah.
want you to, not sell yourself, but
Yeah.
sell yourself, right?
Well,
give us an idea of kind of
yeah.
like all the stuff you do, because what you do is just super unique, right? And I don't think a lot of people really realize that's available.
Yeah.
And so I want them to kind of understand what all you do and entail in your practice at Zen Remedy.
It very much starts from cradle to the grave, no doubt, and it is the most ultimate holistic experience. We start with infant massage classes.
Interesting.
I've been teaching infant massage classes, so parents will come, they'll bring their baby. I charge $25 per child. All of the proceeds go back to moms in need. I work with Haven Midwifery, and our next one is on February 9th. So we teach people how to connect and bond with each other. Really what I'm looking for is helping our community out from the very beginning. And so we do the infant massage, and all the way through, I've operated craniosacral therapy and massage therapy on children because even they have, issues early on. And
They're
then,
kind of bunched up for a while.
oh man, yeah, right, yeah. I mean, we've worked with incidents to where the speculation is that the child had their leg bound up in utero because of the cord. These
Right.
things happen.
Yeah.
And so we move that through, and I do work with families, as I mentioned. So I've worked with addiction. I've worked with I had a little girl who had a stuttering problem. Issues in school. Families love working with families, as I said before, and that's pretty much either they come to my workshops, which are held every month, I have all of my education that I've recorded and put to date. So it's about 6-7 hours of education is all available online in my members area. That has education, it has tools, it has support. People can see me one-on-one, either in person or I work internationally, you know, through all the Zoom and Facebook media. And then, you know, the most ultimate massage. You know, being able to come to someone's house and work from head to toe, you know, doing face massage, reflexology, as I mentioned, over 60 certifications and teaching most of those. So even if somebody's not into the full, you know, close off oil massage, I can still operate with somebody because there's issues with sometimes when people have had abuse and they're not comfortable with that level of touch. So we're able to kind of break them into that exposure therapy. So that's a wonderful thing. And, you know, somebody's got a bad back or, you know, they've got pain that they've been dealing with for a really, really long time.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's not always just dealing with what's actually in the physical body. A lot of times that has emotional and mental components to it. And so, you know, again, I don't know of a more complete holistic experience that people can have. And as best, it's all in the comfort of your own home.
Yeah, which is super nice.
Oh, and important, you know. There's no judgment ever. And that's really important to, like, lend because I don't want people to think that, like, if I go to their home, you know, in my line of work, the moment that I start to judge, I lose my effectiveness. So I have to observe. So I can go in and do what's called a vitality visit and come to your home and kind of check out what things could be enhanced and refined. So that covers about, you know, the classes, the online opportunity, the massage technique. I think that covers about all of it.
Okay.
Oh, and water. I sell the best water filtration in town too, you know, because nobody else was doing it. The Britas make healthy water. I give people, the Britas make safe water. They take things out, but the pond that's too pure can hold no fish. So my water is remineralized with calcium, magnesium, and zinc, and we all know that we need that for our immunity.
100%.
So I got it covered, mind, body, and spirit.
Cool.
There we go.
Awesome. And then how does the Ayurveda and the kind of Chinese medicine play into all that? Is that just through...
Well, the 5 lessons that I have in the lifestyle architecture, you know, we use Chinese medicine to teach about, like, the psychology. And as we were talking, how much is an awareness, you know, what Chinese medicine is if you know the show Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody, you know, you can pick out a Kramer from a George, from an Elaine, from a Jerry, yeah? So I help people, and one of my keynote speeches that I did was all about the team workplace. And so I used Chinese medicine psychologically, the archetypes. And then where Ayurveda fits, that's kind of the backbone of everything that I do. I've had training in that since I was a kid, and that's been the one that I've loved the most. And so 2 of the chapters that are in the lifestyle architecture are all based in very practical and simplified understanding of Ayurveda so you can use it in your daily life.
Interesting. It's cool. It's cool. It's, you know.
I love it.
Yeah, we've done just a ton. I mean, there's so much there. Just... No. My
next class is on Ayurveda.
Really?
I don't have the date set, but we've gone through in the first lesson, we did living a life on purpose. We did awareness, we did choice, and we did voice. And those are all a part of the first lesson. The second lesson is all about Ayurveda, so we'll probably have as many as 5 different classes on those, each 1-hour classes. And those are each held, and I haven't put them online yet. But those will all be put online within this week.
Nice.
So those will be out until May. You know, as usually I'll do like 3 or 4 months of planning.
Awesome.
So, and those are great to come to. You know, $33 and you get all that mad knowledge.
Heck yeah. I mean, it's a cool deal. It's, I mean, obviously it's thousands of years of.
Oh yeah.
Just.
In 1 hour, you will be able to understand enough about it to where you'll start to see the world differently. You'll start to say, okay, that's the Vata, the Pitta, the Kapha-ness to it, you know. But I don't use those terms. I say the Bentley, the John Deere tractor, and the Ferrari.
I was to say, who wouldn't benefit from learning some skills that helps them to live more deliberately?
You got it. Living a life on purpose. We're not here on accident.
Yeah, 100%.
Are you going to live on purpose?
It was, I think everybody knows by now who David Goggins is,
Right.
Okay.
right? And he had posted something the other day, or he's always doing all these motivational speeches and all this kind of stuff. And he was like, man, he's like, my brain just goes into where I'm at the gates of heaven, right? And I'm a plumber, I'm 380 pounds, and they're reading off David Goggins, Navy SEAL, coach, motivational speaker, marathon runner. And he's like, yo, that's not me. They're like, but that was supposed to be you. And I was like, man, that shit kind of hits home.
Man.
Like
It's all a choose your own adventure, man.
yeah. So I was like, I think we're all put here for a reason. Just finding that reason. But I think a lot of people they take the wrong roads because they're conditioned.
Yeah.
Right. And then sometimes they have to.
And sometimes they have to,
Yeah.
right? But part of it too is at starting at an early age, like you're conditioned to lead a certain path only.
Right.
Right. A lot of people have a hard time exploring.
Yeah. Well, and you just like hit a big button on me. One of the most important things that I love sharing with people. Most people are familiar with the 5 love languages. Mm-hmm. Now, those typically, in total sum, do not resonate with everyone. For example, I don't want people to buy me stuff.
Right.
They always get it wrong.
Right.
I don't need people to tell me I'm good. I love that, Physical touch, obviously, I love that in my gig. So one thing that I call the universal language of love is choice.
I thought you were going to say food, but I'll go with that.
Well, that would be second. That would be second.
Tacos.
It is Tuesday, right?
But when you think
is
about
Taco Tuesday.
exploring
Yeah.
and giving ourselves, when you think about when you feel the most oppressed and restricted is when somebody is controlling you or telling you what to do. When we give ourselves choice, when we give other people choice, that is the freedom.
Yeah,
it's all there,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
that is the universal language of love. You heard it here first.
I do that with my kid a lot versus giving them a decision. Like, you're going to go do this. And it's like, hey, you can do this or you can do this. Right? You make that decision. No matter if you like either one, you get to pick the verse.
Giving options,
You
they
get
feel empowered.
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. People like to feel empowered by choice. Like, you direct the choice, right? But at
Yes.
the end of the day, people.
My perfect example, we're in Fred Meyer's and my kid, she knows her parameters. She knows to look on the back of a box, and if it has red 40 or BHT or BHA, she's like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to get it. Daddy won't let me. She knows that.
Right.
So we're in the store and I was like, well, you know what you can get and what you can't get, pick what you want. And some guy was walking by, probably about 20 years older than me. He says, what? I can't believe she's getting to pick her own stuff. We would have never had that when I was a kid. And I say, yeah, that's probably why the world's so messed up right now. So if we have choice, we feel empowered. That's the best way we can love each other.
Choice. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
People want to feel empowered and have some control of their life.
We all do. And that's the thing, maybe what we can leave with is that people will find that they will constantly find dissatisfaction if they explore positions. We need to explore principles.
Correct.
When you go through positions, it's the either, the or.
Yeah.
Everybody, the reds and the blues, the donkeys and the elephants, we all want to be heard. We all want to feel like our voice matters. We all want our own sense of security and our own sense of empowerment. When we stick to those principles, we will find the most appropriate answers to create the and.
Yeah.
When we focus on positions, it's always going to be the or. That will always be conflict.
That's very like it's like broadening your mindset,
Yeah, man.
Well, we typically ask a question at the very end of every
Cool.
podcast, right? But because you're a little different in your thought process and I guess like principles, right? And et cetera, versus like the standard business owner entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So I want to utilize that. And normally we ask a question of like, hey, give us, your 5 best tips or tricks that a business owner and entrepreneur can put into place.
Yeah.
But for you, my question is going to change a tad.
Okay.
And it's going to be, can you give us 5 principles that someone can implement in just mindset or like taking that mental approach to make them a better leader?
Yeah. Let me go on the quick of that. We'll go ahead and we'll start with that one. Move from principle and not position. Work from the inside out instead of the outside in everything you do. In your awareness, be thinking, not is it, what do I need to do out there to fix things? What is it that I need to resolve inside myself to fix things outside there? Then we would look at, oh my goodness, well, those are, my brain is just going with a million different things, Then we're looking at, now I got a million things, man. Now you got me.
Just fire off, man.
You got the 5 essential enhancements. You got to be thinking about your attitude. Your attitude always has to be optimistic, and it's not the glass full, because the half glass full, nobody's ever been thirsty and wanted a half glass. You need to be thinking that optimism is that your glass is abundantly rolling over. We need to.
I like that.
We need to think about things completely different.
Yeah.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Come on. It should be life, liberty, and happiness. Pursuit sets that up. You have to watch everything you say. And languaging is one of the two. And it's not like one is more important than the other, but your intention and your language are the two things that will lead you to your conditioning. So always work there. And everything you say, make sure that, are the ands, buts, and ors. Are you aware of which one you did? Learn how to use yes and no. A lot of times people don't, because we were told no all the time when we were kids. So now we don't have boundaries because we don't know how to say no when we're adults.
Yes, that's the thing.
So learn how to say yes and no.
Yeah.
There is a magic with why and what. And you need to learn how and when to use why and what. King Arthur and the Sword and the Stone. It wasn't literally that he pulled the sword from the stone, but it was metaphorically that he was able to pull the words and the tones. And if you take the S from swords and stones and just put it in the back, you got your words and tones. So you got to watch what you say. So principles, inside out, watch your language, sleep. Recognize that balance is this thing that is never met by chasing the extremes. Really look towards the middle path. The middle path is everything. It's homeostasis. It's the sweet spot. And when you explore that middle path, you will create new opportunities to be in that flow.
Yeah.
And in that way, the fifth one would be, and this is more of a what you get to, with that kind of conditioning, is that you're a ball bouncing in the stream. That's what you want to get to. Because there's so much effort, like the salmon going to die upstream.
Right.
And that's what the American society has taught us, the culture. And culture itself is a little petri dish, right?
Right.
Culture. And a culture is a cult. You are earth level. It's culture. So we're in a culture, we're in this little petri dish, and we need to become very, very aware of what our experience and thinking is, because it creates reality. That's 5-ish.
Dude, that was, that was just lightning. So I think people are going to get some
Word.
awesome value, man. I just think you're a tremendous person.
I'll break it down a lot slower. Come see me.
It's okay. What's great is it's all recorded, and people can rewind.
I know, Mike.
They can just like, they can even slow it down. So
Really get some bass in that voice.
Well, Josh, it was awesome that you came on, man. Thanks
it was
again
such
for
a pleasure.
taking
Thank you so
time out
much.
of your day, coming in, enlightening us on just all the stuff you do. I
Much
think it's super
appreciated.
important. And hey, how can people get a hold of you?
The best way is my phone number is 907-290-2207 in Anchorage.
Okay.
And then my website, tons of great information. It has that members area, Club Zen. That's going to be myzenremedy.com. myzenremedy.com.
Love it, man. You got Facebook, Instagram,
Oh, yeah.
all things?
Yeah. No Instagram. I got the Facebook, got the Meetup.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, man. Well, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And we'll see you guys later.
Thanks, guys.